I was so happy when I was preparing that message. But when it comes to reality for me to present it, it becomes something different. But let's bow our heads. Eternal Father and our God, make me a nail on the wall, O Lord, that you will be hanging your portrait, that when I'm looked upon, they see your face. Touch my lips from above. Let the words that you have spoken here, dear Lord, will be means honor and glory of you. Help us to accept the things that we cannot change. But with your grace, your love, and your mercies, help us to change. Thank you for hearing and answering my prayer. May the church say, Amen. Whenever we hear the word adultery, the very first thing that comes to our mind is the intimacy relationship between a man and a woman, or a husband, put it this way, and a wife. Why I become so emotional, I will go right in the middle of my sermon because time is a little against me. But I hope you will realize that that's the time you give me, and you know Brother Wilson has a lot of air. Even before I start my sermon, anybody that have been abused, adultery might be the third or the second reason. Because adultery is on the top burner. To break relationship, it causes you to have strange thoughts. I was raised in a small village in the island of St. Lucia. And in a neighborhood, well, the whole village, it's one thing you would always hear. 2-3 days would not pass if you don't hear the cry of some woman. Is it this one or that one? No. And this end of the street, you hear that woman bawling and crying and screaming. Jesus. In the next end of the street, you hear another woman crying and yelling and screaming. Right surrounding my home. When you hear another woman crying over there. And when I'm saying that to you, it is something weekly. If your wife didn't get a beating this week or today, the pastor's wife is getting one. If these two don't get it, the other one over there is getting it. And that included my mother. I remember I was only 6 years old. I'm born in January in 45. And in December of 50, we were living on top of a little hill. We had to go down in the village to fetch water. And little me had to haul the water up, help Mama, because I'm the very oldest one. And one Sunday evening, my stepfather came from the village, and he came home just a little bit, 5:30, 6 o'clock, and the supper wasn't yet on the table. And so he demanded his supper in 10 minutes. And if in 10 minutes his supper is not ready, now you know the rest of the story. And he was very truthful. He took the only fresh bucket of water. You know, back home, we used to have 3 corners like a triangle, and the pot is on top of it, and you feed it with fire to cook your food. He took the only bucket of water, walk outside, and pour it in the fire. Over all the pot, everything, just put the fire out. And then my brother was like a little child. And then he just pulled his belt out. That was the end of the story. My brother is on the ground yelling and screaming, and when he's not satisfied with the belt, he fists her. All I am doing is just crying and shouting. At the very same moment, I don't remember exactly how it happened. The place was very rocky. And my little brother, I was about 5. No, he wasn't 5. Yes, he was about 5. No. Excuse me. He was about a year old. About a year old. Trying to go to his mother. When he get to his mother and hold her by his legs, and when she moved, he fell. And if I wasn't there, I would have a dead brother. The Lord gave me the strength and the ability to save my brother. It was a very hard thing. And remember, I was only 6 years old. And I was 15, 16 years, and my stepfather was still doing the very same thing to my mother. The only thing I had dread is when my mother would deprive me from joining her. You cannot shout and scream and look for help, because the next man that is your neighbor that you will go to ask for help, it is just not his turn. So he will not come and assist your mother. Because maybe the next person you hear screaming will be his wife. You couldn't go to the police station. There was 3 police officers in the village. A corporal and 2 privates. Some of them, they couldn't wait to get home to pick their wives. You cannot go to the police station and call for help. Adultery was the thing that separated my grandfather and my grandmother, which I happened to be living with my grandfather. The only person in my life I've ever heard remembering telling me she loved me was my grandmother. For a while I didn't really believe or know who was my biological father. Because my biological father had 5 children from 3 different women. In the island of St. Lucia, and he migrated to Martinique, and he had 2 others. And when he visited home, the 5 of us came around him, and that was the second time I was seeing my biological father, and was the first time I saw him face to face. Because the first time I saw him, I only see his back, living. We were all gathered there with him. He called me by name. And when I came to him, he said to me, "Get out of here, you're not my child." Little fellow, I was about 8 years. I didn't take him for granted. I went back and sit among my brothers and sisters, 5 of us around him. 2 from my brother, 2 from another woman, and 1 from another. When he called me again and he ordered me out, I got up, turned my back, walking away, and the next thing I felt a kick in my butt. Then laid on the ground. And that was not the end of the story, because when my oldest brother took me home to my grandfather, he knew my grandfather would beat me, would not believe me with the story I will tell you. So he came to be my rescue. But my grandfather just took his hands and he pushed my brother away, and he said, if I wasn't rude to my father, he would not have done it to me. From one adulterer to the other. After tearing me up, you have to kneel down on the floor still for another 15, 20 minutes. And the blood that was where my knee get injured, it stopped on the floor. So when I say, "Pardon, Daddy," because you have to ask pardon, you have to ask for forgiveness in order for you to get up on the floor. I couldn't get up because I was stuck. It was the love of my grandmother that came and unstick me on that floor with some soap water and or whatever she used. That particular beating and thing, I spent a couple of days without going to school because I was sick. All of that occurs because of the breaking of the commandment of God. I begged my mother to leave my stepfather. She said, "God don't believe in divorce." Oh, how foolish a thought of misunderstanding scriptures. If there is one of you women that is being abused by your husband, just remember one thing. God asks you not to commit adultery. God asks you to love him, but God also tells him to love you.
Yes. Amen.
And if he is abusing you, don't stay with him. You could forgive him, but don't stay with him. And this goes vice versa. All of that occurs because of the breaking of God's commandment. Thou shalt not commit adultery. My mother lived the rest of her life. But finally she separated from him, but she wouldn't divorce him. My stepfather began to abuse me when he began to run concubine. Because Because after that first beating I told you I saved my brother, he came back to the church, but all the time he's in the church. Not all who says, Lord, Lord. I used to enjoy hearing my stepfather preach. And I loved this man because he's the only one I knew as a father. And when he began to, he joined with another woman. He had the same amount of kids with my mother with that woman. And she began to tell him a little story about me, and as soon as his lover and his sweetheart told him that story, he will just come home and will not ask me whether it is true or not, and hear the kettle drum begin to beat. I am not here to preach about myself, but if I cannot tell you what happened to me, Amen. I cannot tell you what happened to anyone else. If I cannot tell you where God has delivered me from, I cannot tell you He will deliver you. Amen. Amen. My stepfather was a very intelligent man, politician. He was very puffed up. And he was working for the Banana Growing Association in the Caribbean. Anybody from the Caribbean islands knows what I'm talking about. If you don't know what I'm talking about, ask Brother Francis. And Brother Tony. And I was working with him. I was his selector of his stem. And there was a paymaster. And there were rappers. I will not take time to explain every one of them for time's sake. But the gentleman that was handling the money, do him a favor by taking $250 out of the cash box for his personal use. But they wouldn't know until the next fortnight. The box of money comes with thousands of dollars in it to buy stems from the farmers. Went about 8 miles from home, maybe 7 miles from home, in a buying point. My stepfather set everything up. The farmer that was there, he hurried and selected her bananas and everything like that, and they left. And he never came back, not until he was ready to wrap up everything. So next fortnight, when the box came back with the cash, he was short of $250. He asked me about it. I told him, I cannot tell you anything about this money. I called him Brother Daisy, because he was in the church and that's how we call each other. He said, do not ask me about that, Brother Daisy, because I don't handle the money. That was all over. About a week later, 7:30 in the morning. When I used to wake, I was the last one to go to bed and the first one to wake up. When I woke up that morning, I realized my mother and my stepfather is in the kitchen. I couldn't understand why. Because while the maid is cleaning the house all over again and preparing breakfast and having to go and fetch water, they are in bed. But that morning, they wake up before the maid. And that man, my mother said to me, go back and sleep. I'll take care of the kitchen. Should I take this out and use this? Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Just put it off.
I did.
And then use this. Thank you. Where was I? Yeah, go back. bed. So I went back to bed. In another 15, 20 minutes, my stepfather called for me. I know I was in trouble. Knelt down on the floor. And this man began to beat on me. My stepfather used to beat, and I like him, prefer him to beat me than my mother. He would just give me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and he's gone. But my mother would dance on me. But that morning, my stepfather took the plate. He took the gold. And it was minutes to 9. I was still being beat. And then he ordered me to the ocean. In our little villages, here is the sea, here is a village, and this is where you start going to the countryside. Ordered me in the ocean. My body is blistered. All the cuts from the whip. All because of the sin of adultery. Why wasn't he in his box to control the money? He walked away for the pleasure of sex. Thing for you and I to do is to get involved with a woman, especially those that is not our wives, because we think we are getting a treat. Our wife is a supper, and the woman outside is the dessert. Lord have mercy. And it has caused more disaster in life. It has caused Christian sound men in the church to walk away from God. It's the anniversary of me meeting my wife 48 years ago. 48 years ago. I was in the church and I backslid. You know, when you come young, you just leave. And brothers, I was 19 years old when I took the last beating from my mother. And it was a lie from my stepfather. And my grandmother, when she heard I was being beaten, she came. She lived a block and a half away. But she knew by the time she get there, she will still find me being beaten. And that day my mother used 2 hibiscus switches on me, 6 lashes with each of it, for a lie my stepfather told on me. For the pleasure of sex. Coming back to my wife. I was in the church, and when I get of age, my grandmother gave me the money to leave my country. And I left. But I hated my mother, my stepfather, and my grandfather. Because all 3 of them abused me. My mother, I finally get over it, because she was abused herself by my grandfather, and my grandmother was being abused by my grandfather, all for the sake of adultery. So my mother was delivering unto me that she had received from her father. My mother showed me a scar on her thigh. My grandfather used to make baskets to carry load in the country. And the vine that he was using to do the basket, this thing never breaks. And that was my mother's instrument of crime. Then she grew up to be a big woman and married, and then she was being abused again by a stepfather. I have double reasons to hate my grandfather, and I have double reasons to hate my stepfather. Had said the word forgiveness. It is not an easy thing to forgive if you are not abiding in Christ. You have to have Jesus Christ, the Lord, the one that created you and is sustaining you and promised to redeem you. You have to live according to His commandments in order to understand forgiveness. I made different provisions. But when I left the church. And church, this man you're looking at there, I was a wild man. Wild West. How many of you remember that little show? That was Mr. Wilson. Wild West. And you know what I was looking for? I was looking for love all around the wrong places. I needed to hear a sweet, tender voice say to me, I love you. That's right. I had a girlfriend in the church. You know we are in the church, young people. We begin to court. We were high school lovers. Not lovers. High school friends. If that might be better instead of the word lovers. But what I mean to say that we had loved each other. And one day she said to me, I don't think I'll be able to marry to you. Because your grandfather don't like me. Your mother don't like me. So it hurt me. We split. And I will tell you the truth right now. I don't think I'd ever love another woman like her. I say these to my wife sometimes and she don't understand it, but I said, sweetheart, you don't have to worry about that. And she don't have to worry about that. You don't have to. So I met with my wife. She was a Roman Catholic. And she asked me, one first question she asked me, when I saw her, we began to talk. You know what I mean, man. But one question she asked me, what religion are you? I told her, I used to be a Seventh-day Adventist. And that is true. Because the way I was running around, Seventh-day Adventists don't do that. I hope not. And she says, okay. 69. I met that woman. We were married in the Roman Catholic Church. You had to confess. So I asked my wife, how do I confess? I asked her, how do I confess? She told me. So I went and the priest told me when I was finished telling him my story. He said, go and sit, kneel there and say 5 Our Fathers and 10 Hail Marys for your sin to be forgiven, and then you will come back a couple of hours and I will marry you. So said, so done. I began to live that sweet, beautiful life with my wife. I find myself in hardship because I leave the Virgin Islands and go to Boston. And I went to go to school in Boston to become a furniture designer. But had 6 children left behind in the Virgin Islands with my wife. I had to forget about myself with education, with trade education and to educate my children, because every one of my children went through church school until the 8th grade. That's what I could afford. So when I came down to Florida, hardship fall, I get a call from a friend of mine in the Virgin Islands that he get a contract to cut grass all around 7 to 8 schools, public schools. And he had a contract and a permanent job, so come and make some money with him. I left my family behind and I went to the Virgin Islands. Men, if you're going to work in another town or in another state, any place else, if you cannot take your wife with you, God will provide. Don't go. Yes, I fell in adultery with another woman. And that particular night, it was 2 a.m. when my wife called me. And the woman was just leaving the shop. My wife knew immediately that something was wrong. And I couldn't hold it back. I told her. And even until now, I'm asking her for forgiveness. Adultery is not to be played with. You will kill for adultery. You will steal for adultery. You will bear false witness. You will lie for adultery. Why? To cover you up. Make you feel like Mr. Big Stuff. God knew that it was going to be a struggle with men and women. I'm going to paraphrase it in my understanding, but the story is in Genesis chapter 2. When God created everything, I want you to take your time and read Genesis chapter 2. If you don't understand when I finish preaching, take some time and read Genesis chapter 2. From verse 7. In Genesis, Moses gives us all the details of how God created the heavens and the earth, created the trees, created everything. He gives us all the story, how God created man and all of it. And then he told us what God did, but in chapter 2, he demonstrates how he did it. Do I have a witness? Yeah, he demonstrated how he did it. So he said to us, God made the man, and then he created all the creatures, the fowls of the air, the fishes of the sea, everything God created. And everything that moveth on the earth that had life in it, on 4 legs, 2 legs, flying with wings and wiggling in the water, God gave Adam the job to name them. And as he named Mr. Lion, Mistress Lion, Mr. Tiger Cat, Mistress Tiger Cat, Mr. Rooster, Miss Hen, Mr. Horse and Mistress Horse, Mr. Cow and Mistress Cow. As Adam finished called all of them, the Bible says the name that he called them is their name even until this day. But when Adam finished naming everybody, I'm paraphrasing now. The bull cow is on the heifer. The lion is there. The cat is there. Everybody playing with their partner. You get a message? But Adam stood there. There was nothing for him. That's what the Bible says. Read the story. There was none found for Adam. Brother Wilson Wilson's explanation to that is, I firmly believe that God allowed Adam this disappointment for him to realize the need of companionship. Do I have a witness? Yes. There is something missing in Adam. And the Bible says, and God said, it is not good for man to be alone. Do I have a witness? Yes. Because God created the man. He created the woman. He created the animals. And he says, be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth. So sex is created by God, giving the man and the woman the gift of coming together. Proverbs, the Sons of Solomon tells us that we have to drink from our own fountain, our own cistern. Because when you go in the cistern on the outside, it's the same thing that you're living in the house. Don't forget that, man. Get involved with another woman, it's the same one, the same thing that you get out there and say, you only think is better. It's only in your mind. And when God realized, God told the man and says, it is not good for man to be alone. I will make him a helpmate. M-E-E-T. I googled the word last night, and it says it's companionship. M-E-E-T. Companionship. Two people getting together. God wanted it to sink in man the necessity of intimacy, just like he saw all the animals around him. And then God made the woman. I'll tell you one thing. I wasn't there. Neither one of us was there, so you don't have to wonder if I'm telling the truth, yes or no. But just as another man, when you see a beautiful woman, it tickles. I believe when Adam saw that piece of beauty standing in front of him, I believe Adam went in shock. Is that for me? And he did not have to ask the question because God brought her to him. Church, is two things that God in creation, listen to me, it's two things God in creation allow men to be involved, not involved, but allow man to witness it right there and then. Number one, the marriage of the husband and the wife. And when God handed her to Adam, he pronounced the word, for this cause shall a man leave his and his church. You are not, I'm sleeping, wake up. I close the sermon because you're not. But God said, for this cause shall a man leave his mother and his father and do what? And cling to his wife. And they two shall be one flesh. Men, whenever you are involved in any activities, you become one flesh with whoever it is, whether it is with your wife or whether it is with a prostitute. Do you want to be one with a prostitute? You become one flesh. So how many ones of do you go that you have? Can you have 12 of you? How many ones of you can you have? God gave Adam one. Yes. The Apostle Paul strengthened that after the Lord. The Apostle Paul said, look, don't you dare go anywhere. You have to be with that woman. He didn't say 24/7, but if you can afford it, or if you can handle it, do it. It is better you do it there instead of being tempted to do it on the outside. Amen. Sometimes we are afraid of talking about intimacy in the church. We need to talk about it. Yes. We need to talk about it. You don't talk about it. You don't tell your children about it. They will find the information in it. You will not tell them what you give them a telephone. Hello? And the telephone have internet. You saw it. Hello? Or you buy her or she a computer and it's in their room. Hello? But you will not tell them. So the first thing that God did with man involved in all creation was to marry that woman and that man and wish them all the best. Be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth. Number 2, I told you God involved man in 2. Man was around in 2 of the things that God created him. Was the what? I'm going back to my last sermon in here. I told you all I will touch on it when I come back to preach on the other commandment. Is the Sabbath. Where was man when God created the Sabbath? On what day did God create Adam and Eve? On the 6th day. So man was there when God created the Sabbath. And man entered into the joy of rest together, and the Lord was right there with them in the eve of the Sabbath. And he worshipped with them. And it is so important. The Sabbath is so important and much more important even as you and I are married. He didn't tell us to remember thou shalt not commit adultery. But he just said thou shalt not. But when he talked about the Sabbath, he said remember. So 2 elements of the 10 commandments man was around. The relationship with a man and a woman, and the worship of the Sabbath day. And I firmly believe, if you are a faithful Sabbath keeper, you don't have to worry about none of the commandments of God. Because you want to be, if you're a faithful Sabbath keeper, you want to come to church with no burden, no burden, dragging any burden. You want to leave all the burdens from Friday evening or all during the week, you want to leave that alone because you're coming to worship God Sabbath morning. So your thoughts and your mind, if you begin to prepare for next Sabbath this evening when sunset, your mind is always on God's work and on God Himself. So you don't have time to think of that little woman you see that is walking down the street. And you don't have time to look at your neighbor's yard and to envy whatever he has. You are satisfied with God. All you're looking forward to is for the next time we gather together to seek the Lord's blessing. Amen. I wish I could go a little further, but I'm going to close here. Church, thank God for those of us who have a wife and those of us who have a husband. God don't create fools. Man become fools after they were created. That is why the Lord holds a child responsible when they are fully knowledge of what they can do. The parents are responsible for them to guide them into the Lord. until they become of good understanding to make decisions for themselves. I heard Sister Hart said somebody was with 20, she said?
Yes.
20. But what was the next sentence you made?
And she lost the voice.
No, you
Thank
said,
God that she made it to 20.
and she don't have control yet.
Yes.
That was the word. You have control over her.
Amen.
Amen. In my Caribbean islands, you are a grown adult man at 21. But between England and migration and everything in America, they make our children an adult at 18 years.
Mm-hmm.
But they only make the child an adult at 18 years, beginning to break all commandments of God because they forget to honor their parents. From the time they turn 18, they forget about honoring their parents. But the insurance company will double charge them for them to put a car on the road. Use them as instruments to make more money, to get more rich. Because they cannot get insurance if your insurance is $2, theirs is 10. They cannot buy liquor because they are not of age. They cannot do this because they're not of age, but they make them an adult. So they make them, I don't even know how to describe it. You and I suffers the same loss. But God.
But God.
But God.
Amen. Amen.
Is in control.
Yes, He is.
God is good.
All the time.
And all the time.
God
One more time. God is good.
all the time.
All the time.
God
Praise God from whom all
Let's
is.
go. Amen.
I'm going to stop it. I will speak on that thing all day.
Yes.
But we have to have a limit. May God continue to bless us.
Yes.
Men, especially us, I know we are weak vessels. And even until now, I see pretty women. Man, sometimes when you see that sister's walking, woo, oh, and when she passes by, you turn around, oh. Yes, you take a second. You literally turn all around, man. Woo. Looks good. It's vice versa. Let not your heart be troubled. Even God believe also. In my Father's house so many mansions. If it was not so, I would have told you. I'm going to prepare a place for you. And that place, no adulterer, no sorcerer, no whoremonger, none of these things will inherit the kingdom of God. So if it is not going to take you to heaven or lead you to heaven, and you know it, please stay away from it. May God bless you.
Amen.